If you're not careful and Noclip out of reality in the wrong areas, you'll end up in the back rooms, where it's nothing but the stink of old moist carpet, the madness of mono yellow, the endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum hum buzz, and approximately 600 million square miles of randomly segmented empty rooms to be trapped in. God save you if you hear something wandering around nearby, because it sure as hell has heard you. Greetings, Wanderer, and welcome back to the Noclip Podcast, the show where I teach you everything you need to know as you explore the backrooms. In this episode, I will be analyzing levels 9 and 10. Let's get started. Level 9 is called the Darkened Suburbs. It has a survival difficulty rating of Class 4. It is unsafe, unstable, and has a high entity count. Level 9 is the 10th level of the backrooms, and the first level beyond the main 9. Level 9, known as the Darkened Suburbs or the Suburbs, is an expansive, winding network of paved asphalt roads and residential homes resembling a modern suburban neighborhood. Natural sources of light in the level are scarce, as aside from its permanent lack of daylight, which may serve as an obstacle for wanderers, lights emanating from its plethora of structures rarely tend to function. In addition to these hindrances in visibility, a thick, inky fog covers the level, shrouding its streets in darkness and impeding one's field of vision past a distance of approximately 10 meters. Paired with the rough winds and storms that occasionally pervade throughout the level, its average temperature typically fluctuates around a brisk 10 Celsius or 50 degrees Fahrenheit, making the overall climate of Level 9 a significant obstacle for those wandering its streets. Transportation is further impeded by the state of the level's infrastructure. Its streets and sidewalks are often derelict and broken into small chunks, exposing the barren soil beneath, often spouting moss and weeds. Some areas of Level 9 may be devoid of pavement or the set footpaths entirely, with one's only option being to trot through the mud-caked soil. Although remnants of automobiles are present intermittently throughout the derelict streets of Level 9, they are consistently in a state of advanced disrepair, being broken down, deteriorated, and rusting with age. Due to the generally poor state of the level's buildings, especially those seemingly intended for data and energy transmission, a stable internet connection is not present anywhere in Level 9, nullifying any possibility of communication through longer distances. However, telecommunication antennas have been observed atop various buildings, leading to the possibility of function interpersonal contact via connection-independent devices, such as radios or short-range transceivers. The entities present within Level 9 generally avoid locations with more luminosity, possibly as a protective measure. For this reason, they typically remain within the more derelict areas where light is less common, waiting for prey to pass by. The most common structures within Level 9 are, evidently, the numerous residential houses that line its streets in differing states of dilapidation. Some have displayed architecture dating back as early as the 17th century, while others present such a confusing style that cannot be categorized properly, although they don't usually surpass 2 stories. Occasionally, they've been seen orderly in specific patterns, with flawless spacing between each other, along with consecutive domiciles being eerily similar. As a result, massive agglomerations of virtually identical houses are present throughout the level. Others may merge with other buildings, with the chance of forming chains of innumerous houses. Those anomalies manifest themselves with a wide range of possibilities. Walls may connect to other houses, forming solid structures filled with concrete and rebar. Rooms can distort from one building to another, stretching every object that is contained in its environment. New or duplicated rooms also seem to be formed haphazardly between houses, but without the modification of its furniture. The buildings may have a considerable part of their structure damaged due to various factors. Small items which get carried by the wind and break windows with time, and entities that may damage doors and objects are some of its causes. Many of the furniture inside the houses of Level 9 are also used, old, or even destroyed, while other buildings do not feature those appliances at all, but completely barren. Due to this aspect, it is difficult to come across useful objects when exploring the constructions. Supplements can be found in some buildings, but with minimal chances. Found less frequently than the houses in level 9 are the electrical stations, only being present in the deeper recesses of the level. Accessible after prolonged exploration, the majority of the workings are time-worn, rust woolly covering their decrepit surfaces, starkly contrasting with the buildings around them. As their worn appearance implies, such machines often malfunction or fail to operate entirely, a sufficient amount of energy to give power to the structures within the level or to the power lines that border its empty streets. The lamp posts serve as the main and most efficient source of light outdoors, guiding through the dark streets of level 9. Apart from the broken ones, they assist the wanderers to evade common dangerous properties, such as segments of broken pavement and entities which lurk around the corners of the houses. Other, more atypical buildings are present on level 9, but they also do not present useful objects. By the documented structures, some of the possible supplies include, but are not limited to, almond water and incomplete first aid kits in small markets and melee weapons in warehouses. As of now, there is currently one known recovered note from level 9 from a previous wanderer. The whereabouts of this wanderer are currently unknown. The note reads as follows.
An incessant daze. As eerily as I can recall my journey here, I have been walking uninterruptedly with my back against the darkness, dragging my senses through an oniric suburban hell. The contrast between its dreadful dusk as far as my eyes can see, and the twisted coalescence of its artificial buildings, molded in a way which no plausible explanation can be given, results in nothing less than a constant state of muddled maelstrom. While in the caves, I mostly felt fear. I have feared the dark since I first came to know myself, presumably as a protection from what is unknown. As much as some may judge it as something irrational and unnecessary in the common, it is the motto that has made me survive thus far and be able to document my journey. The spiders initially were a nuisance, but I was able to keep a reasonable distance. This neighborhood, however, storms me with restless thoughts, being a place so familiar with the normal life, but so empty of relatable life keeps me uneasy. The rarefied air and anguish have been stuck in my chest since I was transported here, worsened by the unconscious thoughts of the times that will probably never return. The party's over, the lights out, the people are gone, the night's cold. What's next? What's next? A question I don't know how to answer. Over my course, I've been spending my days faded and anemic, with no proper place to rest. Drowned in my own sorrow, I am currently stuck between exploring every corner I come across, resulting in one step closer to exhaustion and being forgotten in the cold artificiality of the streets, or the exertion of precision or cowardice, as some might say. Since one wouldn't leave so easily from the neighborhood, as excruciating it might be, but between pain and death, I prefer pain.
Due to environmental factors, the number of entities present at the level, and the immeasurable extent of the region, colonies and outposts do not exist in level 9. There are currently 2 known entrances to level 9. Tripping or falling through the caves of level 8 can lead to level 9. Entering a door labeled Neighborhood in level 20 may transport to level 9. There are currently 5 known ways to exit level 9. Following a series of arrow street signs pointing north may lead to level 11. Walkways that lead to grass fields may lead to level 10. No clipping through a tree covered in snow will lead to level 9.1. A greenhouse may be positioned haphazardly, which if entered will lead one to level 13. Destroyed basement doors can connect to level 84. Please note that as we get into level 10, as of now, there has been an interview with an anonymous woman who lived on level 10 for a time with her family as a child. While the updates are pending approval, excerpts from the interview have been placed throughout this article to provide more up-to-date context. For a moment, we thought we had escaped the back rooms. Level 10 is known as the Bumper Crop. It has a survival difficulty of Class 1. It is safe, stable, and has a minimal entity count. Level 10 is the 11th level of the backrooms. Level 10 is an expansive pasture of wheat and barley fields stretching endlessly in all directions, divided into plots of lines of trees and shrubbery. The climate of the level never appears to shift from an overcast, leaden sky, with brief and infrequent spells of light, rain, and fog. The dreary atmosphere of Level 10, coupled with its unchanging state of daylight, makes it somewhat difficult to keep track of time, with only the occasional gust of wind among the crops to break up the uniformity. Due to its abundant resources and lack of immediate hazards, Level 10 has been deemed a prime candidate for backroom settlement. The level's vast surplus of wheat and barley appears to be safe to consume, according to reports from those who have explored it. However, further investigation is pending to better understand the nutritional properties of these resources and determine their suitability as a reliable food source. Bodies of water are present throughout Level 10 below one consistent elevation, which likely occurs due to the level's soil processing slight hydrophobic properties, preventing the irrigation of water into the ground. The water from these pits has been deemed safe for human consumption, although its taste has been reported to have an earthy undertone. Upon inspection, it appears to be free of algae and other organisms, only containing various microbes and types of benign fungi. The water is believed to be highly oxygenated, which likely contributes to its clear, seemingly uncontaminated appearance. A diverse range of structures may be found intermittently in Level 10, such as small wooden sheds and outbuildings, as well as larger barns and stables. These structures appear to be largely empty on the inside, aside from often housing certain useful resources, namely wooden nails. These resources, along with the structural elements of the buildings themselves, may be of interest for various purposes such as construction. While the potential for establishing permanent settlements in Level 10 appears promising, further analysis is needed before a final decision can be reached.
Back home, I had a game I always used to play on my own. I would lay out an apple core or something like that out on my doorstep, and I would come back and watch it for hours on the end of each day until it was completely unrecognizable. Often, the shape of them would stain the concrete step, and so over the years it became browned with those shapes. I remember looking at that and thinking it was crazy that I could have such an effect on some things as strong as concrete. I felt like the ruler of the world.
The lines of shrubbery that separate the pastures of Level 10 into plots are of varying species and do not appear to have any unusual properties, aside from the fact that they do not seem to outgrow one another. Rather, they consistently remain at the same height. The trees in particular are of average hardness and could be used as a source of wood, although it has proven more practical to obtain wood from the empty structures throughout the level. Further investigation of the plants may yield additional insights into their potential uses and characteristics, as well as insights into the general ecology of Level 10. Dirt paths are often present throughout Level 10, distinguished by 2 strips of tire tracks separated by a strip of grass, suggesting that the paths are frequently used by vehicles such as cars or tractors. However, despite this evidence of regular usage, no such vehicles have ever been observed on Level 10. These dirt tracks do not appear to regrow, and in addition, attempts to cultivate plants on these roads have resulted in failure, with sown seeds failing to germinate. Additionally, it has been observed that following these roads for a prolonged distance can often lead one to Level 11.
When me, my mom, my dad, and my dog first clipped into Level 1 while out on a picnic, we were shocked. We had no idea what to do, but my mom, God bless her, kept it together and let us out. Having lived on our wee farm all our lives, all we wanted was a quiet place to stay. The closest we had gotten was Level 4, but the dog couldn't stand the sound of the rain. We immediately regretted moving farther onwards, going through Levels 5, 6, and 8, which we hated, but once we got to Level 10, we had a feeling that it was all worth it.
There are very few unique entities in Level 10, with the exception of the small, worm-like entities that inhabit the soil beneath the surface. These worms have been observed through the use of shovels to dig into the soil, which have been found to be only 1 meter deep before giving way to a mass of worms writhing in the darkness below. It is currently unknown how far down the worms extend or where they originate, and further exploration beneath the 1-meter depth has been determined infeasible due to logistic and safety concerns. Proceed with caution when excavating the soil in level 10, as it has been observed that digging a hole deeper than 1 meter may result in the rapid emergence of worms from the soil. This can present a number of hazards, including the potential for slipping or falling injuries, damage to clothing, and even the risk of physical harm from worms attempting to burrow into the skin. If one wishes to collect them for any purpose, it is recommended to limit excavation to small holes rather than deep trenches in order to minimize risk.
I'll never forget the smell of wheat grain I smelled as we laid ourselves down on the wet soil floor. I saw worms come up, but I didn't pay them any mind. I was glad to finally be out of the caves and to be somewhere familiar enough to me. Mom and Dad found a barn. Somebody might have built it or it could have just been there. But it was our new home. It really felt like everything was going to be alright.
Despite the fact that level 10 is generally seen as a transitionary location due to its relative ease of exit, there is reason to believe that it may be possible to sustain oneself there long term. Plans to establish an outpost in the level are currently in progress, with the aim of conducting a comprehensive analysis of the possibilities of long-term occupation.
A few days into living in the level, when Mom had installed a new wooden doorstep, I decided I would play my little watching things decompose game. I grabbed off a piece of wheat and placed it down to watch it rot. I was quite unsettled to see that it never decomposed one bit. I saw one of the worms come up, start eating it, and then turn right around. I thought about how much of it had eaten, and I realized that I was feeling kind of weaker than usual.
There are currently 2 known entrances to level 10. Walkways in level 9 that lead to grass fields may lead one to this level. In certain streets on level 11, you can find a back road that leads to level 10. There are currently 3 known ways to exit level 10. Finding a road and following it for a prolonged period may eventually lead one to level 11. Crossing a border separating this level and level 35 will lead one there. Swimming into a lake can lead one to a number of aquatic levels. Research into which levels are exactly accessible is underway.
After that, something happened to my mom and dad one night while I was asleep. They were making porridge. I woke up to the smoke of burnt porridge, and my mom and dad were on the ground. I didn't think twice about getting out of there. I took the dog, and we went straight out for the lake. From then on, I knew that life in the back rooms would be even more complicated than I thought.
Thank you all for watching this episode of the Noclip podcast. If you'd like to see more episodes in the future, please follow or subscribe on whatever platform you happen to be listening on. This has been the Noclip podcast. Safe travels, watch out for entities, stock up on almond water, and we'll see you in the next one, Wanderer.